This is JS Party, your weekly celebration of JavaScript and the web. For more like this, check out our other pods. You can collect them all at changelog.com. Thanks to our partners at Fly.io. Launch your app close to your users for peak performance. Fly makes it easy. Learn how at Fly.io. Okay, it's party time, y'all. Oh yes, the sound of those Breakmaster Cylinder beats means you know what time it is. It is time for JS Party. I'm Jared, your internet friend, and I'm joined today by my friend, Nick Nisi. What's up, man?
Ahoy, hoy. How's it going, Jared?
Can I ask you a question, Nick?
Absolutely.
Do you like jam?
I love jam.
Do you like game jam?
Oh.
Do you like React game jam?
I love React game jam.
Do you have deja vu? Because I asked you these exact same questions last time we were getting ready for another React game jam. And this time we're joined by a developer who likes to put 3D games in the browser. He's been doing it for a while now, and his name is Brian Bryholes. That's the best I can do. Brian, welcome to JS Party.
Happy to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you, and you're going to have to hold our hands and take us gently, softly into the world of 3D game engines in the browser, because I am a complete neophyte on the topic. Nick, I'm assuming, do I assume too much? Do you know this well?
I'm very, very interested in it, but like specifically when it comes to like 3D games and like I've done some 2D like platformer stuff in the browser, but like 3D game stuff, I'm like a flatlander. I can't see that third dimension or how you even do that.
So you're going to have to really hold our hands. Brian, tell us about yourself. Tell us your history with game development, how you're doing this, maybe how you make a living so that you can do this, all the good stuff so we can get to know you a little bit.
Sure. So my name is Brian Bryholes. I'm from Germany, in Flensburg. I'm originally a web developer, but transitioned recently to making games, especially using Vue.js and React 3 Fiber. And yeah, how do I make a living of that? I had the luck that my dad was supporting me a few years ago. So I had like a good buffer of about 2 years where I could just grind away and didn't have to worry about it too much. And yeah, after that, I was pretty lucky to join the web game dev community. And through that, I eventually met a guy, Crispy, I don't know, Chris Baumgartner, I hope I don't butcher his name here, who asked me if I wanted to do some client work with him. And yeah, that's been going on over the last year and transitioned slowly to making more and more tools, moving in the direction of making an actual game engine for the web, using web tools. And yeah, that's where we are right now.
Cool. So this client work has to do with the game engine? Like they're paying you to build the game engine, or those are separate things?
Yeah, he managed to make it that way. So we had a good portion of the budget to be able to start building a game engine and then go from there and build the actual app, right? So that was all of his, I don't want to say scheming because the client got an actual product at the end, but yeah, he managed to organize it all that way.
Very cool. So you're making a living off of in-browser game development. It seems like that's a rare thing, I would think.
So cool.
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome.
Pretty lucky.
Tell us about your React Jam. So this will be your third one. We should mention that React Game Jam, which we've talked about in the past on this show, is coming back up again. In fact, as we record, it's a week away. As this episode goes out, if you want to be involved, you probably have to move relatively quickly because it'll be starting up either now or in 6 hours from now, or depending on when you come to this, maybe it's already over. But as the episode will ship, it'll be like burgeoning. In fact, they haven't even announced what the theme is this time around. I think last time we did a show, we knew what the theme was. This time we don't know. And so we're a little ahead of that game. But a very cool game jam, reactjam.com. I will be volunteering as a judge once again, because this is the easiest volunteer job one could ask for. I just play a few video games with my kids, and then we just pick which ones we like the most. I mean, how hard is that, right? I mean, I should be getting major volunteer props from people, don't you think, Nick? That this is like,
Absolutely.
yeah, philanthropy, the philanthropy arm of JS Party here.
It's bringing your work home to the kids and being like, look how cool my job is.
Right? Yeah, I definitely get cool points, but I do not get to build 3D game engines in the browser for a living. So if I introduce my kids to you, Brian, I would be second coolest guy. Second coolest job. So that's cool. Tell us about your first couple of game jams and what you built, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, okay. So I've joined 2 game jams, React jams so far, game jams as well. The first React jam was my first game jam ever. I think the first one had the theme party. I participated in the single player challenge both times, mainly because they used to have the restriction that you could not do widescreen games in the multiplayer challenge. And I wanted to do flashy 3D experiences and kind of thought, okay, I want to at least have like a smartphone screen available, or wide smartphone screen. So I did the single player both times. This has changed though, as far as I know, recently. So I think check the rules again, but if you're going to participate in this jam, you will be able to do widescreen games as well. So the first jam, I landed a 3rd place with a game called Disco Warrior. When the theme wasn't announced yet, I was already set though on making this hack and slay 3rd person kind of game, right? So where's this guy with this huge sword and he jumps at people and slashes away, and then the theme party was revealed, and I was a bit stumped for half a day, but then I thought, okay, I will just turn the whole thing into make the place just party themed, and so it happened to be Disco Warrior.
So it's a hack and slash warrior game, and then you're just like, well, I'll make it a disco warrior, and you're going to be doing your hacking and slashing inside of a disco, and there you go. Now I'm back on theme. That's smart.
And to be fair, I spent like almost 2 days working on a nice disco ball, and having like the lights reflect everywhere, or faking reflection, because that's way too expensive for the browser. But so there was some work invested into this theme.
Well, we have also invested in disco balls here at JS Party. Nick, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, this reminds me of a shirt I just saw on the internet like yesterday.
What's that?
It just said, surely not everyone was kung fu fighting. Like, that's the perfect shirt.
Oh, yeah. That is a good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
And this Disco Warrior game has an epic soundtrack, a very loud soundtrack. So when you pop the tab open and get warrioring, it's in your ears, as well as some nice voiceovers like, get off of our disco, or like, you have no moves. I don't know. I can't remember the exact things that you said, but there's some voiceover.
I did there were like 20 hours left. By the way, it was also like horrible about time management on the first one. So I introduced tons of features on the last night, backfired at some point as well. But the voice lines did happen. I spent like 2 or 3 hours on some AI voice generation website. First, like brainstorming up lines together with ChatGPT, and then put them into the voice generator, and had like 3 or 4 personas that were kind of fitting, because you couldn't actually say at the website, okay, it needs to be threatening, or and then it's you're standing on our disco floor, and then it's okay, that's not really fitting. So
a lot of iterating to get to that actual. Yeah. That's when you're just done coding. You're like, I need to do something else for a while. I'm gonna go make some voices and integrate these.
Yeah, I needed a break at that point, so I did like 2 or 3 hours of that.
That's the fun stuff. So was your main problem with time management was just introducing too many things too late in the game?
Yeah. Previously, for the game engine that we're working on, I've written this huge animation system, character animation system, right? So whereas this in modern games, there are these insanely complex state machines where you have a character that goes from idle to walk to run, and potentially those different states are state machines again, where it's okay, run to stop. And then if you think about a game like Red Dead Redemption, the characters just walk so naturally, right? They have like all these start and stop animations, everything is smooth. So I was really hoping to showcase that in the game. And I had this model from the Unity store, which had like a bunch of animations, like 70 or something. So I just ended up making the attack combos more and more complex, right? So there's like this base combo, which is like two or three, I think 3 different hits. But if you jump and then hit attack, you can test it yourself later. There's going to be a different animation. There's going to be this jump into smash, and then there's another one, and I just kept adding them, and of course it introduced a ton of bugs that I didn't get to fix at the end. But yeah, first time.
Do you just stop and move on, or do you keep polishing your game after it's all over with?
After the jam?
Yeah.
No, I actually never touched that code base again because it was like 70%.
I know that feeling.
Like 70% through the thing, everything was looking pretty good. I was thinking, okay, you could actually keep on working on top of that, but it just degenerated completely over the last 2 days. Lack of sleep, lack of time, so you just end up hacking stuff in the worst way possible. So I didn't open that project again.
What's up, friends? I'm here with 2 new friends of mine from Speakeasy, Sagar Bachu, co-founder and CEO, and George Hadar, founding engineer. So for the uninitiated, Speakeasy takes care of the entire SDK workflow to save you and your team significant time, delivering enterprise-grade SDKs to your customers in minutes. You can generate best-in-class SDKs in TypeScript, Python, Go, Java, C#, and even PHP. So, Sagar, what's your excitement level for APIs and this API world we're living in?
I'm super excited about APIs. I think we went through Gen 0 of the API first revolution, and I think we're actually going to a second one now with the tailwinds of the AI ecosystem kind of causing that to be reinvigorated. So yeah, super psyched to be working in this space right now. I think everyone's at a point now where everyone knows about REST APIs and GraphQL APIs and gRPC APIs. And now I think we're actually getting into the second phase of that, which is how do people ship great developer experience in addition to the APIs? And how do we build like truly best-in-class APIs that turn into long-lived infrastructure, right? This is kind of the vision I think that Stripe helped manifest for everyone in the fintech space, which is an API that really sets the bar for developer experience, but also like it's something you can truly rely on, right? It's a true, if you make Stripe a dependency of your company, you can feel confident doing that. And I think that's the part of API development that really excites me.
I agree. That is exciting. So, George, teams who leverage Speakeasy are those who have leaned all the way in on documenting a solid open API spec and mostly want to be hands-off of their SDKs. Is that right?
Precisely. So you're coming to us because you want to be hands-off from that process. You want to put all of your effort into documenting your API, and then you're trusting and relying on great quality tooling to turn that into code and documentation, which is what we're doing for you. You're not meant to change or edit the code because it will be regenerated the next time you change your open API. So you ultimately put it in our hands. Once you've committed the changes to your open API, it's off to the races, and you get a new release of your SDK. You'll get a pull request to review. You will have the opportunity to look at the contents of the code, but quite often you can let it hum along creating SDKs for you or new releases of your SDK every time you change your API.
Very cool. Well, the thing that got me with Speakeasy that really helped me understand it was that, as George said, it is hands-off. You can just focus on documenting your API via the open API spec. And you still have pull requests, you still have visibility. And in fact, they will even hop into pull requests with you to triage any sort of anomalies or issues that come from the SDK generation and improve the back end of Speakeasy to make future releases better for you. I think this is so cool for teams who want to just be hands-off of their SDKs and focus on their product, focus on the core documentation around the open API spec, but still have all that awesome visibility. Okay, so the next step is to go to speakeasyapi.dev. You can start off with one free SDK. That's so cool because you can go there right now and try it out completely free. One free SDK. Let them know the changelog sent you. Let them know JS Party sent you. Once again, speakeasyapi.dev.
You mentioned a couple times that you're working on a game engine, and I'm curious about, like, when it comes to these, I assume that you're using your game engine in this, but is that something that you come like pre-prepared with? Do others come with like their own game engines or their like shared game? Like, how does that work?
So to start with, we have the requirement it has to be React, right?
Yep.
And in the case of these games, they are not just, let's say, a Three.js app and inside a React wrapper, right? Where it says, okay, there's an app and a full screen canvas and that's it. There's no more React. No, this is an actual React game engine. So you will find React components that say like, there's obviously a physics component. There's if you look into the file and read the text, there's like mesh, health, is player, physics collider, etc. Right? So it is actually integrated into React. We haven't released anything yet. This was during the games I was using an earlier iteration of the engine. We are planning to start releasing this year, over the course of this year, hopefully. Deadlines have been moved before. So no one else is using it so far, but I think there were other 3Fiber projects as well, and those are very close. This game engine is basically 3Fiber with game stuff added on top.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of going to be my question, is what's the difference between like Three.js and React 3Fiber and then the game engine? What does 3 provide, and then what does the game engine provide on top of that?
Okay. So yeah, let's start with Vanilla 3. Vanilla 3.js is a renderer, right? So there are no game-specific tools. Obviously, there are a lot of tools that you also use for games, but you can also just use it for some product page. And probably the most use cases of Three.js aren't games, right? They are like interactive 3D websites. But it's the foundation, it's the renderer, it's what talks to WebGL or WebGPU in the future and render stuff onto the screen. Then there's React 3Fiber, which is just Three.js, but gives you a React syntax for it, right? So it allows you to express your scene as JSX, meaning instead of having a bunch of scene.add mesh1, scene.add mesh2, mesh2.add child, you have your JSX hierarchy where it's okay, mesh and then child mesh and maybe another child mesh, right? There's obviously a lot of people who prefer one over the other. I personally like 3Fiber a lot because JSX just gives you this immediate visibility of what's going on, right? You open a file and you see what is there. And in turn, it gives you the ability to abstract a lot, right? So with 3Fiber, we have this collection of components called Drei or Drei in German, which, yeah, they're mostly rendering abstractions, but they're insanely helpful. Like a lot of stuff that you would have to do yourself if you're using vanilla 3.js, that just saves tons of time to make your scene look good. And that's kind of the question, okay, 3.js was there 10 years earlier. Why isn't there a collection of components like that as well? And that's kind of where, okay, maybe it's a community, but 3.js has a very large community as well. So that's where React kind of comes in. It allows you to create these abstractions and share them with people. It allows people to create an ecosystem of components that can be reused. So yeah, that's basically what 3Fiber is. And our engine is basically 3Fiber, but let's give you the ability to add game data to your JSX as well, to your game entities. Yeah, so I've been going on for a long while.
No, this is super interesting and kind of, it's always nebulous when I hear game engine. You know, to me, that's the really cool part of game development. I've never really done much with game development, but like that's where, so like 3 and React 3 Fiber, it sounds like that's using React to kind of give you the tools to render this 3D world. Then your engine is what would give you the tools to interact within that 3D world, like create a camera, maybe an entity like that's moving around like a player or something.
Yeah, that hits pretty close. Like the where 3Fiber provides a lot of rendering abstractions, our engine is able to provide behavior abstractions. So in React 3Fiber, there's no way to attach data to a mesh. And if you say, okay, your mesh is your player, for example, right? Like let's do an example, then okay, how are you associating data like position, health, I don't know, weapon type, whatever you have with that mesh, right? It has to live outside of React. But what our engine does is it allows you to just add that data as well inside your JSX as components. And it's like, okay, you have an opening tag mesh, and then in there goes like, okay, health, position, and a bunch of others. And then that data is associated with your player, and you can, outside of React, again, get the data, work with it, and write your typical your game loops, right? Where it's, okay, I have a velocity, I have a position. The classic example, okay, each frame I need to add the velocity to my position, update the player. That's something that I don't want to do inside React, right? Inside the React component, because the question is, okay, in React, if it's what's the data? Is it a state? Is it a React state? Because then that would mean if data updates 60 times a second, I'm re-rendering the React tree at 60 FPS. And that's not something I want to do. I want React just to be this layer where I can compose things and read what's there, but it shouldn't have any performance impact. There shouldn't be almost no React re-renderings happen during gameplay. So, and that's where our engine comes in and it allows you to, at the same time, separate the data, have it live outside of React, update it imperatively 60 times a second, but at the same time, compose it inside JSX and have it there together with your mesh, with a player where you're looking for it, right?
With the React wrapper around this, like you were mentioning, being able to like see everything from a JSX kind of level, like, you know, see what everything that's loaded into the page and things like that. That's really cool. And I agree with that. I'm curious if other like metaphors from React carry over. Like, do you end up writing a lot of like utility things as like hooks, or is that kind of just left alone? Like, how far does the React integration go? Definitely,
there are hooks. As I mentioned, our engine uses what's called an ECS, Entity Component System. We probably don't have the time to go into that, but it's a way to manage your data and functionality. And for example, we provide hooks like use component, where it's okay, you give a ref to your entity, provide the component type, and you get a reactive hook. Or if the data updates too fast, like position or ammunition, for example, you get a callback function so that you can manually write into a div or whatever is your output. So there are definitely hooks. What you have similar to other or to classical React is there are higher order components, where in Kubernetes, for example, I had these big red buttons that you could walk on that would lift a platform. That was basically the mesh for the button, together with a higher order component for, I called it pressure plate or something like that. Where it's okay, it will have this logic attached to it. You can move things up and down, but whatever gets rendered is up to you. And all the other platforms, like there was a lift or some rotating thing, all of them were higher order in the sense that you could pass whatever gets rendered into there, and it will work out of the box.
Regarding the game engine, you mentioned two things. Well, you mentioned one thing, and that was state machines. So I had to ask about that. Is that something that the game engine provides? And then also, like, towards that, does the game engine provide things like, I'm just thinking of my very vague experience with things like Unity and things like that. Like, does it provide like level designers, or like how would going about actually creating, the disco floor, like what would that development look like?
Okay, so there are basic tools that you will encounter in any game engine that we offer, like an input system, a decent camera system, things like that. Then we are working on the editor as well, or on a editor that will probably be a later release. So if you're asking about level design, I personally do that in Blender. So I lay out, in this example, the disco floor in Blender, export as GLTF, run it through GLTF JSX, which is a great tool that turns the mesh hierarchy into JSX readable format, which is great. So just if you want to, say, highlight a certain mesh inside your model, say, I know there's a special lamp or something, and whenever you hover it or the player comes close, you want to highlight it. That could just be inside React. That could be, the code would look just like hovering a button. It's okay, on hover, set the state, change the color, whatever.
Nice.
So if you don't know Blender, you're up a creek.
At least for now.
Okay. Sorry, Nick. We're done. We're done here.
I was done a long time ago, but it's still super interesting.
This is why we're flat. What do you call yourself? A flatlander? This is why we're flatlanders, 3D is just a different breed, Is this game engine going to be open source? Is it going to be for sale? How is it going to be released?
It's going to be open source, going to be part of the, I'm always not sure how to pronounce it, the Poimandres, I don't know, the collective around 3Fiber. There's a bunch of other libraries under it, like ZooStand and React Spring, a bunch of others.
Now, your next React Game Jam, you went from a meager third place to first place, which you can't actually go any higher than that. I'm not sure if you knew that or not. So you might as well just give up now and not do another one. But first place, best game overall. This was Cooper and Onita, Midnight Snack, a co-op jump and run with puzzle elements. You play as two characters, Cooper and Onita. It's like a dog and a cat, right? And you can hop back and forth between them on their mission to find some midnight snacks. You want to tell us about that one?
Yeah, so when the second theme was announced, it was a lot more stressful than the first time around, because I had no idea how to incorporate the theme of cooperation into the game. You can't just fake it and say, yeah, look, it's a disco, it's on the theme, right? So it has to be something that actually involves gameplay. So I was contemplating what to do. Eventually ended up on the Unity store again, browsing for cool looking models. And I was already working with the Cooper model, the dog, earlier doing animation work. And the artist has absolutely amazing stuff on the Unity store. And they have also published this cat model, which ended up being Onita. So I saw both of them and kind of thought, okay, it kind of went from there where I thought, okay, maybe we can have both of these characters. They look really good. They also showcase animations. Maybe you switch between them, and kind of just happened from there. Yeah, aside from that, time management was a bit better. I didn't scoop in that many features on the last night, but it was still stressful. I think for everyone participating in these jams, it's a lot. And I had to fix engine bugs for like 3 days straight, where the scene switching wouldn't work. So, in Cooper and Onita, there are these stages where once you collect the bone for Cooper and the fish for Onita, the stage is complete and you can load the next one. Originally, those were supposed to be different scenes handled by our scene managing entity. But it turned out that it was horribly buggy, and they were bugs that you couldn't ignore. It was like, okay, the new scene gets loaded. Suddenly, Onita is 100 meters tall. and you have like the whole model across the screen. Didn't get to figure it out in 2 or 3 days. So I ended up hacking it together again. Everything is just one scene. Things get switched out when they need to. But it was ugly as well again. And I was also thinking, man, this code is looking pretty good. So just maybe could be a real game after that. But not after that happened.
So you haven't touched the code since, just like the other time?
Nope. I've been thinking about doing a second version of it. I wanted to make some games for one of the online platforms like Rune, for example, or Pokey, Crazy Games, I think is another one. And that's why I thought, okay, maybe do a remake of Koopa and Donita. But I haven't gotten to that yet.
And what did you win? Best game. I mean, they got some cash prizes. It's not just kudos. You get some actual stuff, right?
Yeah, I think it was like $500 and a bunch of subscriptions. I think I can't remember them all. It's been too long, but
yeah,
there's a bunch of stuff in there. It's really cool.
So you can't go up from first place, but you can probably continue to refine your game engine if you continue to compete in React Jams. Is that your main motivation? It seems like you're doing it for fun, but you're also, each time your game engine is getting better, and you're hitting against different issues that it has, and that you take that with you, even if you leave the rest of the code.
For sure.
To never be touched again.
That has been, one of the factors. Of course, it's great fun. It's always a nice vibe hanging out in the Rune Discord during the jams. And I also just like the competitive feeling of, okay, you have to log in. It's going to be you and your game code for a week and nothing else matters. And in reality, that's not always how it turns out, but the idea is nice. But in terms of practicality, there were huge benefits from just testing out the engine in the wild. Like the scene switching bug, for example, that's one. Yeah, and just, getting a feeling for what parts of the API aren't that smooth yet, what parts are kind of annoying, where do you have a lot of boilerplate, stuff like that, right? So there's definitely been a lot of improvements from joining in those events.
One thing that's interesting about this one is the title of the page says Vite plus React plus TS. What's this TS that you speak of?
I think that's the Vite TypeScript starter template that I ended up working on. Yeah.
Never got around to changing those page titles. There's certain things that just don't matter during the game jam. I mean, he still took first place, even with the Vite default starter template title.
Yeah. No, they were like, with Koopa and Donita, I ended up finishing at 8 p.m. here, because that was the time that I discussed with my girlfriend that I have to stop there, because on the first jam, they do end at like 8 or 9 a.m. here. So it means, okay, if you want to get all of the time in, then you're not going to sleep on the last night, right? So on the first one, that's not the worst part. I was so focused on animations and having a cool character controller that there wasn't any like type of gameplay, score system, or checking is a level complete or anything. All of that happened in the last 2 hours where my brain was already completely fried. So I ended up hacking you get some type of score, I think, for hitting enemies or for killing enemies, while you have health points as well. But when they go down, go to 0, you don't even die. The original score just gets reset. But there was no time for something else, like all sorts of bugs. The enemies, once they die, whenever they respawn, there was a bug where they continually end up being stuck in the ground, like more and more. Where if you play for like 5 minutes, all of the characters are going to be under the ground, so you have to reload the page. Yeah, so the Vite template definitely wasn't the worst part.
What's up, friends and party people? I'm talking to you today about our friends over at Clerk, the complete suite of embeddable UIs, the full-on, most comprehensive user management platform. If you're using React or Next.js, Clerk is perfect for you. Embeddable UIs, flexible APIs, and admin dashboards to authenticate and manage your users. And I'm here with Clerk CEO Colin Sidoti. I'm told that one thing you say, or are known to say, is polish, polish, polish. What exactly is that? How does that define Clerk's product definition, how you deliver, how you personally deliver, how the team delivers? How does that permeate into great product?
Yeah, polish, polish, polish. What does it come from the most? You need to recognize that there is a inherent difference between building a developer tool for the back end and building a developer tool for the front end. And it has to do with composability. In a backend tool, if we just provide an API to say like, is this password correct? Or is this code that got sent to an email correct? It would be on the developer to then take that API and compose it into a front end experience. And that's very flexible and kind of developers can do anything they want with it. But what we're finding is that because we're offering these components that need to include the end-to-end user experience within them, there's this reality that the 80-20 rule doesn't work. We kind of need to have that long tail of 20% features for a developer to be happy with Clerk. An example right now is we're missing a terms of service checkbox. It's more than an 80-20 rule, right? Like 95 and 100 developers are like, we do an implicit terms of service accept, we don't need a checkbox there. But those other 5 look at Clerk and they're like, I can't use it. And I think polish, polish, polish is kind of just like, let's learn what those places we're failing are and just build the feature. It's not purely design. I think polish, polish, polish sounds like a design-oriented thing, but it's very much just like fill out the long tail and build a moat. Clerk is going to be the easiest sign up, sign in user profile solution, but we need to make everyone happy, and making everyone happy means we need a lot of this and a variation built into the product.
Very cool. So pixel perfect UIs embedded in minutes, React or Next.js. This is the easy button for you. Clerk is perfect for you. It is a full-on comprehensive user management platform with, as I said, beautiful UI. Best of all, they have pricing that scales with you. They have a phenomenal free tier, 10,000 monthly active users for free. Plus, when you scale to a paid plan, they have first day free. This means you won't be charged for users who sign up and never return. So that's phenomenal. Every feature you need now and as you scale, get started at clerk.com. That's CLERK.com. Once again, clerk.com.
You mentioned your girlfriend and timing problems. I mean, this is an 11-day jam. You certainly have to have people in your life who are cool with it. I mean, I'm thinking, I would love to do one of these. I just couldn't do 11 days. Like my whole life would fall apart. People might literally die. I don't know, Nick. Yeah. You probably are in a similar boat, right? You lose your job, Nick, probably.
Yeah. Couldn't imagine doing one day of this, right?
Right. I mean, we've done hackathons in the past where it's like a weekend or 24, 48 hours. And you can't really do much in that much time. I mean, I like the fact that it's 11 days because you can actually build a game versus 48 hours. I mean, Brian, you were working on one bug for like 48 hours, right? So I get it, but man, that's just a lot of time to dedicate and probably a lot of sleepless time and people who normally rely upon you, just like Brian's unavailable until Thursday.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. That's why we had this discussion after the first one, because it definitely was too much. I am in the position that it is my job to work on a game engine, and this definitely falls under the umbrella of testing the engine in the wild. So that's the first part there, where I get way more time than people that have a day job, right? And then that only can start working at 7 p.m. or something. And then my girlfriend was super supportive, but after the first one, it was total madness. I have this I don't know if you know it. Walker Time is this tool inside WebStorm,
like a Pomodoro thing.
Yeah, that tracks tracks like the actual programming time that you had over the day.
Okay.
It's like a rescue time type thing, if you're familiar with that.
Okay, gotcha.
And it showed like, I don't know, over 70 hours of actual programming time, right? And you're also standing in front of the whiteboard or just staring at the wall, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, there were 70 hours of just raw programming. But I needed a full week off after that as well. Like I was destroyed. Luckily, I'm an ex-World of Warcraft player, so I'm kind of used to that sort of behavior, but I'm getting older as well, so
right.
That's definitely the limit.
What do you mean, as well?
As well?
Oh, no, sorry. No, I just meant... That was a mistake.
Listen here, Sonny. That was great.
You know, though, like, in a lot of ways, I guess I've been preparing for this interview because I just watched the Half-Life documentary from Valve on YouTube that came out like 5 months ago, because Half-Life came out 25 years ago, and it was like a celebration of that. And it was so cool just like watching that, you know, seeing these old guys now talking about, you know, back then we did this and I stayed up all night and we just walked over to id and came out with the Quake source code and all of that. Like, just super cool. And I just kept thinking like the whole time, like, in 25 years, no one is going to be interviewing me about the form I wrote today. But you,
maybe
you have a chance, Brian. You have a chance.
I mean, so far it's still pretty niche, but one can dream.
What is your dream? What is your, like, what kind of games do you like to build yourself? Is it always 3D? I know you're working on an RPG card game, it looked like, according to your Twitter bio. Is that like a hobby thing, or is that part of this? Tell us about like what you want to build.
That's the long-term project that I've been rewriting for like 5 or 6 times. Basically started it when I came out of college. Basically started as a Hearthstone clone. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's this card game from Blizzard, a bit like Magic, for example, just a lot more simpler. And I ended up basically cloning that, but putting it on a chessboard where all of the minions that you summon are a piece on the board. So you have like 2 components. You have your cards and you move around your minions. And that was completely 2D, just a HTML table with some sprites. And it is slowly grown in complexity to, okay, now it's kind of the dream to have a semi-open world where actually the minions have gone completely. You're playing a character. It's an RPG now. You're playing a mage, a warrior, whatever. And the cards are your abilities, your skills. So when it comes to designing your class fantasy, this is equivalent to building your deck, right? Because what's the most fun in card games, at least my opinion, it's building cool decks. Yeah, so that's my dream game. Aside from that, I'm really hoping that web games in general just take off. We got we've got the tech. Web GPU is like, you know, at least in Chrome it's supported, but in a few years it will likely be widespread. And there's just something really cool about sharing your game over a link, right? Where if some friend messages me, okay, there's this new cool game, let's play around together. What do I have to do? I have to download an app. I have to make an account. I have to get him on my friend list and then click join lobby or something like that, right? On a web game, it could just be click on this link and you're right in there in my lobby. Fall Guys, Hearthstone, whatever, all those type of games. Tech-wise could work on the web, right? And there's just such a low barrier of entry when it comes to playing together with friends.
Plus, as someone like me who only has Macs, I can open those on Mac.
You can just join those, yeah. Hopefully not in Safari, but you can. It works on a Mac.
I may have just played Cooper and Anita in Safari. I hate to tell you, but I did.
I haven't tested it in Safari, but I mean, it didn't crash apparently.
It worked.
Okay.
No complaints. I opened up the other one in Brave, so there's your Chromium engine there, the Warrior one, and that worked really well. Didn't try that one in Safari, but I just default browser. But I'm using Brave to open up these links, so for some reason it went into Brave, even though I have a default browser. I guess that makes sense. You're following a link in Brave, goes to Brave. But the other one was via email or something. I can't recall. Anyhow, what are you going to build this time?
I'm probably sitting out this time, actually. I have too much stuff to do for the engine. Rewriting the animation system right now. But I'm likely going to join the one after that. Again, this time with the multiplayer challenge. Because that's just really exciting, having a lot of people actually play your games. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it seems like they're gaining steam with this game jam. They've done a pretty good job of doing it recurring, running a good jam, I guess. I'm trying to get something else to call it. A good contest. And the fact that, especially with the Rune games, there's people in there playing them. So it's pretty cool because it gets a little bit of exposure to your game. Even if you're just out there testing an idea, because you can build a game in 11 days, but even like you said, like this was not a full-fledged game. It was an idea of a game, maybe a teaser. But if you have an idea of something that you might want to build into a real game, it's a great way to build a prototype, see if people actually like it, see if it's fun, and then maybe throw that prototype away and start fresh when you're not overworked and underslept, or just build off of it if you don't have that. If you hit that 70% mark and you don't, trash it in the final 30%, I think that's a great way to test out a game idea, is by doing one of these.
Yeah. On that, I mean, with a game jam, but also just in general, like getting started with like game development on the web or, with React or whatever, what's the best way to do that? Is it to go create a game engine?
Probably not. But you might try. I would actually recommend you join the Web Game Dev Discord. That's what I did. Super cool people hanging out there. Everyone's building different stuff from Three.js, 3Fiber, Play Canvas, Babylon, Phaser, lots of people building 2D games as well. But everyone enjoying living on the web, using tools you're familiar with, because after all, it's about having fun. If you're not trying to do it professionally, you want to get something on the screen, you want to build things, and why not use the tools that you're used to, right? If your day job is working with React, that just makes sense, right? If there are tools to build games as well, and you're interested in doing that, just use what you're familiar with.
Very cool. Well, reactjam.com. If you don't want to participate as a game dev, you can still just follow along and play the games as they come out, like I do. It's lots of fun. There's a handful of, probably a dozen or so people submit games, and I would say of those 12, 9 of them are playable, and of the 9, 5 of them are actually pretty fun. So it's a good time. Check it out. Brian, what's the best way folks can connect with you, especially if they're waiting around for you to release that open source game engine for them to check out? What's the best way to stay in touch with you?
Probably on Twitter, Brian Barholz. Other than that, I'm very active in the Web Game Dev Discord. I think the website is just webgamedev.com or .org. You can probably find me in there. Yeah, those are the places.
Very cool. Well, you have all the links to all the things in your show notes, especially this webgamedev.com. It looks like a great resource for all kinds of links to other places to get started, including that Discord. So we'll definitely link up that one as well as all the other stuff, so you can just click through and find your way. One of the great things about the web is just sharing links, right? So easy, so universal, opens in any browser, best rendered on IE4. And that'll get you on your way. Of course, reactjam.com. Check that one out. And that's it. So on behalf of Nick Neasy, Brian, thanks so much for stopping by, hanging out, and telling us about your work. It sounds like very cool stuff. I'm a little bit jealous of your full-time job, but mine's not too shabby either. So gotta keep my jealousy in check. That's it for today. I'm Jared. This is JS Party, and we will catch y'all on the next one. All right, that is JS Party for this week. Thanks for jamming with us. As I said on the show, the React Game Jam is on and poppin' right now. This episode ships the same day that it starts. Build a game, and maybe me and my boys will love it enough to judge you into the winner circle. Thanks once again to our partners at Fly.io, to our Beat Freak, the one and only Breakmaster Cylinder, and to our friends at Sentry. Use code CHANGELOG when you sign up for a Sentry team plan. That'll save you some cash, give us some credit, and get you a great service. Why not, right? Next up on the pod, K-Ball, Chris, and myself gather for another news discussion episode. There's a lot going on. Let's catch up together next week.